जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजजानरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजानरंजन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी हे यशोदानंदन व्रजजानरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजानरंजन यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 जय राधा माधव राधे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिवरगचर सदस्य डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिवरगचर सदस्य डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती से महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की। श्री राधा कृष्ण को गोविंद श्याम गुण राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की। श्री गौर निताय कृष्ण बलराम राधा श्याम सुंदर ललित अभिषेक देव की। समवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरे हरि बोल। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading chapter 7, verse 30. The chapter's title is Knowledge of the Absolute. We are reading verse number 30. Sa-adhibhūtādhidaivaṁ sādhiyajñam ca ye vidur prayāṇa-kāle pīcāmam te vidur yukta-cetasaḥ sādhibhūtādhidaivaṁ sādhiyajñam ca ye vidur prayāṇa-kāle apīcāmam te vidur yukta-cetasaḥ sādhibhūtādhidaivaṁ sādhiyajñam ca ye vidur prayāṇa-kāle apīcāmam te vidur yukta-cetasaḥ
sādhibhūtādhidaivaṁ sādhiyajñam ca ye viduḥ
sādhiyajñam ca ye vidur
prayāṇa-kāle apīcāmam
te vidur yukta-cetasaḥ
sādhibhūtādhidaivaṁ
sādhibhūtādhidaivaṁ
sādhiyajñam ca ye viduḥ
sādhiyajñam cha ye vidur
prayāṇa-kāle api camam
prayāṇa-kāle api camam
te vidur yukta-cetasaḥ
te vidur yukta-cetasaḥ. Mataji.
sādhibhūtādhidaivaṁ
sādhibhūtādhidaivaṁ
sādhiyajñam ca ye viduḥ
sādhiyajñam cha ye vidur
prayāṇa-kāle
prayāṇa-kāle api camam
te vidur yukta-cetasaḥ
te vidur yukta-cetasaḥ sādhibhūtādhidaivaṁ sādhiyajñam cha ye vidur sādhiyajñam te vidur yukta-cetasaḥ. Word by word translation. Please repeat. Sa-adhibhūta and the governing principle of the material manifestation.
and the governing principle of material manifestation.
Adhidaivam, governing all the demigods.
Governing all the demigods.
Mam, me, mam, me. Sa-adhiyajñam,
Sādhiyajñam.
and governing all sacrifices.
Governing all sacrifices.
Cha,
Cha.
also. E, those. A, those who. Viduḥ,
Vidur.
no.
No.
Prayāṇa,
Prayāṇa.
of death.
Death.
Kāle,
Kāle.
at the time.
At the time.
Api,
Api.
even.
Even.
Cha,
Cha.
and.
And.
Mam,
Mam.
me.
Me.
Te,
Te.
they.
They.
Viduḥ,
Vidur.
no. Yukta-cetasaḥ,
Yukta-cetasaḥ.
their minds engaged in me.
Their minds engaged in him.
Purport and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Purport. Persons acting in Krishna consciousness are never deviated from the path of entirely understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the transcendental association of Krishna consciousness, one can understand how the Supreme Lord is the governing principle of the material manifestation and even of the demigods. Gradually, by such transcendental association, one becomes convinced of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the time of death, such a Krishna conscious person can never forget Krishna. Naturally, he is thus promoted to the planet of the Supreme Lord, Golaka Vrindavan. This 7th chapter particularly explains how one can become a fully Krishna conscious person. The beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of persons who are Krishna conscious. Such association is spiritual and puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Lord, and by His grace one can understand Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the same time, one can really understand the constitutional position of the living entity and how the living entity forgets Krishna and becomes entangled in material activities. By gradual development of Krishna consciousness, in good association, the living entity can understand that due to forgetfulness of Krishna, he has become conditioned by the laws of material nature. He can also understand that this human form of life is an opportunity to regain Krishna consciousness, and that it should be fully utilized to attain the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. Many subjects have been discussed in this chapter. The man in distress, the inquisitive man, the man in want of material necessities, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Paramatma, liberation from birth, death and disease, and worship of the Supreme Lord. However, he who is actually elevated in Krishna consciousness does not care for the different processes. He simply directly engages himself in activities of Krishna consciousness and thereby factually attains his constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Lord Krishna. In such a situation, he takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is convinced that by his doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. This determined faith is called Dhrita Vrata, and it is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, or transcendental loving service. That is the verdict of all scriptures. This 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is the substance of that conviction. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of knowledge of the Absolute. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshorunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Kapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Yutupada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Shcha Sri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Roganathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sahavadudam Parijana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Budhari Shivati Saviti Namane Namaste Saraswati Gaura Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. So we are on to the last text of chapter number 7.
Sorry, I couldn't go back.
Of chapter number 7, we are on the last verse, the verse number 30. So this chapter is basically, what is this chapter all about? This chapter is all about knowing the Absolute. So knowing the Absolute means we are trying to know Krishna. Krishna is the is like Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are trying to know the Absolute. So the purport starts with, so first of all, one has to know what is his position in this world. Right? What is his position in the world? So we are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and our only purpose is to serve him and go back to Godhead. That is the only purpose, right? So how can one know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Let's take a common man who is not a devotee. Okay, so what is the first step? In doing anything, what is the first step? The first step is we have to develop some kind of faith, right? So faith is very important, right? So when we are on a plane and we are moving from our source to destination, what is very important is to have faith. Faith on whom? Faith on the pilot, right? We don't know the pilot, but we have a faith that he will, the plane, he is a pilot, like he can drive the plane and he will take us from the source to the destination safely. We don't go and check with him, whether you have a license, whether you need to drive, how many planes he has driven. So many factors are there. So we have complete faith. So any process begins with faith, right? Once we have faith, let's say, for example, someone who is coming to the temple is very new in the temple, but initially he wants to be a Krishna conscious person. He wants to be Krishna's devotee. So first and foremost, he has to have faith. So he will come to the temple. As soon as he comes to the temple, what he will do? Like-minded people, right? They are devotees. So what is that? That process called as sadhu sangha, right? He associates. Association is very important. Like Prabhupada says, like even businessmen who are doing business, they have chamber of commerce, right? So they talk business. So they talk business language. And two business person, when they meet, when they talk to each other, they talk business language, right? So there is some kind of association. Association means knowledge is being transferred, or knowledge is shared, rather not transferred. There is sharing of knowledge. So initially there is faith, and the faith, as soon as the faith is developed, he'll start coming to the temple, and then there will be sadhu sangha. Alright? Now as soon as there is sadhu sangha, what they will do? So two businessmen, when they meet, they start talking business, right? Similarly, when two devotees meet, it doesn't matter whether he is an advanced devotee or just a neophyte devotee. When two devotees meet, then there is association, and then what they do? Then there is bhajana kriya. Bhajana Kriya can be anything. It can be talking about scriptures or doing kirtan or talking about devotees' welfare, whatever it is. But ultimately it is connected somewhere or other. It is connected to Krishna, right? So when Bhajana Kriya is there, what is next? Once you start doing bhajan, let's take our example. When we started coming to the temple, everyone, someone would have joined 30 years back, someone would have been associated with this ISKCON from last 5 years. So when they start coming, they have a faith. Now they come every day in the Mangala-arati. In the Mangala-arati they see the deities, but there is also sadhu association, right? They associate with devotees. Then they do bhajan, we do kirtan, then mahamantra, so many things. We do 64 angas, which is covered during the morning program, right from Mangala-arati till the Bhagavatam. Then anartha nivritti. Slowly anarthas, we may have all the bad habits before coming to the temple. We may not be following any of the regulative principles or none of the regulative principles. So anartha nivritti is there. Slowly anarthas will go. Right, anartha, slowly. If you are like you are used to intoxication, or you are used to smoking a cigar or cigarette or maybe any kind of alcohol, as soon as you come with sadhu sangha and then you do bhajana kriya, slowly what happens? Cheto darpana marjana. Slowly the accumulated dust over a period of time, birth after birth, so many anarthas are there. Slowly they will start fading away. It is not in one shot, it takes time, right? When you have a fan, the fan is moving, as soon as you put the button off, the fan doesn't immediately stop. It takes time, slowly, right? But after a few minutes, few seconds, the fan ultimately stops. So your anarthas will not go day one. It takes time. The more you associate with like-minded people, the more you associate with devotees, the more you hear katha, Krishna katha, the more you do bhajan, slowly anartha nivritti happens. Slowly it will go step by step. Percentage-wise, it will go decreasing day by day. And then once anartha nivritti is gone, what is there? Then you develop some kind of nishtha, right? Then you start liking the process, right? You slowly. So once first day when you come to Mangala-arati, maybe someone has to push you, please come. Someone will keep calling you, please come. But as soon as you start coming regularly, start associating with people, bhajan kriya, anartha nivritti, then what you develop is nishtha. You have some kind of faith, because now the actual reciprocation has started. Maybe it's a one-way reciprocation. So Prabhupada says that when you come for morning Mangala-arati, it's not that only you are eager to see the Lord. Even Lord is very eager to see you. That is why morning Mangala-arati is very, very important. Some kind of loving exchange. You may have your own prayers to the God, and sometimes most of the time it fructifies, sometimes it doesn't fructify. Lord has his own plan, right? So you develop some kind of nishtha. Now this process has already started. Then slowly, and then ultimately, once you have nishtha, then ultimately you have prem, and then you have bhav. But that is a very advanced stage, At that time, you are only concerned about is the Lord. That is the ultimate stage, right from faith till the bhav. When you enter the stage of bhav, it's not that everyone can attend that stage, but generally, when you become a pure devotee of the Lord, slowly, and how can one measure? What is the yardstick of the measurement? How can you measure a devotee? What is the yardstick? That he will talk only about Krishna and nothing else. And he happens to see Krishna as, Krishna is in different forms, right? Krishna is, one of the forms is Paramatma. Krishna is super soul. He is there as Paramatma, and he's always accompanying you birth after birth. So he starts seeing Krishna or Paramatma, and he sees everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. He doesn't have any kind of animosity or enviousness or any kind of thing with any devotee. It takes time. So Krishna is saying, the purport here is, persons acting in Krishna consciousness are nowhere deviated from the path of entirely understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this word is very important. Entirely understanding, not 1%, not 2%, it is 100%. When you want to become a devotee, you have to know Krishna. Like a boy and a girl want to get married, right? So the girl would like to know everything about the boy, right? What was his childhood like, where he has studied, what kind of graduation he has done, where is he working, what is his salary, what is his family background. So many things are there, and the same thing goes for a girl, right? So until and unless they don't know about each other, or maybe they know each other, but then there is something called as an engagement, and then there is a marriage. It's not that they get engaged and next day they get married. Most of the time there is a gap of 6 months. So usually that gap is, why is that gap? So that they know each other very well. So person acting in Krishna consciousness has to entirely understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the transcendental association of Krishna consciousness, one can understand how the Supreme Lord is the governing principle of the material manifestation and even of the demigods. So this whole material nature, who is behind this material nature? Who is the director of this material nature? Krishna only glances and the material nature is created. Of course, Brahma is the engineer, but what does Krishna does? Krishna just glances and the material nature is created, right? So Krishna is the one who is creating this material nature, and he is the governing, he is the one who is running this material nature. Not only has created this, but is also maintaining it. He's also maintaining it, the entire material nature. And even the demigods. So there are a lot of people who have faith in different gods. This morning, like His Holiness Janardhan Swami Maharaj was saying about the faith, the demigods, this morning, yeah. So the idea is, I think it was yesterday. So the whole idea is, people start believing in different demigods, and they see and they feel that this demigod, there is no difference between this demigod and Krishna. That's what they feel. But one has to understand, even the demigods have been created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they have been assigned some specific tasks. They may handle some specific departments, but they are all ultimately working for the supreme pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is their job. Gradually, by such transcendental association, one becomes convinced of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the time of death, such a Krishna conscious person can never forget Krishna. So, what is important about sadhana bhakti? Now, one may question, why I have to do all this sadhana bhakti? What is so important about it? I may directly jump, to the prema bhav or the bhav, the ultimate stage. But that is not going to work. You may see people talking about Radha and Krishna. So this morning I was just reading somewhere, it's very, very difficult to understand the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the relation and the conjugal love, or the transcendental position of Srimati Radharani. What is their position? It's very difficult for a teeny brain like us to understand that. It's very, very difficult. But Prabhupada says in most of the places, whatever program he has given, the morning program, right from Prabhupada Arti till Bhagavatam, if one attends sincerely with full conviction and full faith, slowly he'll start developing. Because then you come to know, when you start hearing about different kathas of Krishna, different pastimes, Dhruva Maharaj Katha, Prahlad Maharaj Katha, Bali Maharaj Katha, so many pastimes are Krishna killing the demons. So many flavors are there. Once you start understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, slowly what you will have is, you start developing some kind of relation with Krishna. There are different rasas. You may just follow one of them. So you may be in Shanta ras, or you may be Sakya ras. So many rasas are there, right? You may start following one of them, and then you start slowly understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what happens to such kind of person? What happens to such kind of person? See, at the time of death, you cannot decide like, I will not do. Why I have to follow all these rules and regulations? Why I have to attend all these morning programs? Why I have to attend Bhagavatam? Why I have to attend all these 4 regulatory principles? Why I have to chant the 16 rounds? My friends are enjoying life. Why I have to just waste my young age in doing all those things? I will do that when I am old, when I am 65 or when I am 70 years old, at the time of death. First, you don't know when the death is going to come. See, on an average, nowadays I have seen most of the cases, the heart attacks, it's not someone who is 60 and above. Most of the cases are for young guys, 45, 50, 60, because there's so much stress, so much office stress is there. Day in and day out they work, they go early in the morning, they come back late night, so much office commitments are there, family commitments are there. They work like a donkey day and night. And what happens? They have medical challenges. And nowadays, most of the people, they don't die. This Vedavyas Swami Maharaj was telling this morning that nowadays no one dies a natural death. Have you heard people dying natural death because of the old age? Just because he's old, he or she passed away. It's very difficult. Most of the people nowadays, they die either because of kidney issues or because of massive cardiac arrest or some kind of cancer. This is the most common thing. It doesn't matter if one is 40 or one is 60 or one is 70. So at old age, if you try that, I may just enjoy my youth, but I'll try to remember Krishna at the time of death. If you try to cheat Krishna, Krishna is the best in cheating. He knows how to cheat you. Okay? So it's not possible to remember Krishna. That's why someone who is engaged or one becomes convinced of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the time of death, such a Krishna conscious person can never forget Krishna. So one has to be a Krishna conscious person. It's not saying just a person, Krishna conscious person. He has to know Krishna. He has to know Krishna's leelas. Not necessarily in that, but someone who has developed that faith and who has followed all the principles, at least to a great extent. And Krishna says that at the time of death, Krishna will give him what? Krishna gives what? Knowledge, forgetfulness, remembrance. All comes from Krishna, because Krishna is sitting in your heart, is as Paramatma, and from there comes all those things. So Krishna will give you remembrance, and he'll give you the strength to remember him at the time of death. And what happens? Such a person, what happens when he thinks of Krishna and he leaves the body? Naturally, he is thus promoted to the planet of the Supreme Lord, Golaka Vrindavan. You have seen so many of our sannyasis, of our acharyas, so many sannyasis passed away, so many devotees passed away. I was the witness when Kadam Ganam Swami Maharaj left this body. I was there. His such a mood he had, he was knowing, of course he was knowing that he's going to pass away very soon. But I didn't see any fear on his face. He was completely, he was relaxed, and he was completely in that mood. And in that mood, and there were devotees chanting around, and there was Prabhupada's lecture going on, and His Holiness Kadam Ganam Swami Maharaj just left this body. You think where he'll go? He'll go back to Godhead, because he's remembering Krishna, and it's not only he has remembered Krishna at the time of that, but his whole life he has been doing some of the other service for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna. So Krishna ultimately will give remembrance to such kind of person at the time of death, so that they can go back to Godhead. This 7th chapter particularly explains how one can become a fully Krishna conscious person. This 7th chapter, one at least will try to be a Krishna conscious person. The beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of person who are Krishna conscious. So this is very, very important. As I said, sadhu sangha. You have some faith, but if you don't have sadhu sangha, you say, I'll sit at home and I'll just do my bhajan on my own. I don't want any association. I am a good kirtani. I'll do kirtan, or I'll do just arti in my place, but I will not associate with any devotee. I will not render any service. So it's very, very difficult. Maya is very strong. What happened to Haridas Thakur? Haridas Thakur was a classic example. He was not attacked by Maya, but Maya tried to attack him, right? What happened? But he made that lady also a devotee. But there are cases where when you do bhajan on your own, there are high chances that you may fall down. Let's say like Bharat Maharaj, right? Ultimately he was in love with the deer, right? And then what happened in the next life? So it's very important that association is very, very important. Such association is spiritual and puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Lord. And by His grace, one can understand Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all like-minded people, when they start coming, and their only goal, the sadhan and sadhya, is very important. One has to understand. What is the sadhan? Is Krishna. One has to know Krishna. And what is the sadhya? All the different processes. There are so many processes. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Vandanam. So many things are there. So all those different things are there. 9 different processes. They are different processes to understand the Supreme Personality of God. You can follow any process and you can get connected with Krishna. At the same time, one can really understand the constitutional position of the living entity and how the living entity forgets Krishna. So one has to know what is the constitutional position of a living entity. Is to serve. Everyone agrees? We have to serve. If we don't serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we may serve our family, our brother, our son, daughter, wife, extended family members, nation, society. We may keep serving. But is that going to help? No. But as an obligation, one has to externally still serve them, but internally one has to understand that any service what I am doing, if it is not going to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then that service it's just karma bandhana. We may just again repeated birth, death, we may just follow the cycle again. So externally, yes, we may have to render our service, but internally we may have to think, we should always think that how can I please Krishna? That's very important. Like a family member, let's say the father of the family, he is running the family, he has children, so he has to do a job, he has to get some money to run the family. But what we do with that money is we go and we do some shopping, we buy groceries, vegetables, fruits. What we do? We offer it to the Lord and take it as a prasad, right? So whatever money we are earning, that slowly we are engaging that money in Krishna's service. So, we don't get the karma back. So we are trying to spiritualize it. So one has to really understand the constitutional position of the living entity. Now the living entity forgets Krishna and becomes entangled in material activities. So life after life, we forget Krishna. That's why we again repeated birth. Then we have to take birth, old age, disease, and then again birth, old age, disease. The cycle is repeated. So many lives after life. We may just glide down, or we may go into the heavenly planet. I think in the last class when I was giving the Bhagavad Gita class, I mentioned that even if you go to the spiritual kingdom, heavenly planets, there the life is, you feel that life is unlimited, but still, as soon as whatever pious credits you have, it's over, you have to come back to this world. You have to come back to this world. You cannot say my life is eternal. Even Brahma, after 100 years, Brahma has to die. There is a devastation, and then everything is recreated again, right? So similarly, life after life, we are entangled in material activities. By gradual development of Krishna consciousness, in good association, the living entity can understand that due to forgetfulness of Krishna, he has become conditioned by the laws of material nature. So what are the laws of material nature? Mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? These are the three modes of material nature, and no one on this material creation can say that I am not into any of these modes. It's not possible. You may see someone is in mode of goodness, someone is in mode of passion, and someone is in mode of ignorance always. But most of the time it's a mix. It's a mix, In the morning you may be in mode of goodness. When you go to the office, you may be in mode of passion. A mix of goodness and passion, because you don't know that day, maybe if you had some fight with your manager, you may be very passionate, and sometimes most of the time we are in mode of ignorance. So it's a mixed bag. It's a combination of all these three different modes. He can also understand that this human form of life is an opportunity to regain Krishna consciousness. This is very, very important, right? So you got a human life, and human life is so precious, because you never know when you will get this human form of life again. Maybe we have traveled different species of life, and then we ultimately got a human form. And in the human form, we can inquire. We can inquire, right? What is the purpose of this life? Brahma Jignasa. What is the purpose of this life? Why are we here? Who is God? Why should I serve him? Where will I go back once I die? So many questions are there in mind. That is possible, and you can only fulfill all those things in the human form of life. Understand the human form of life is an opportunity to regain Krishna consciousness, and that it should be fully utilized to attain the costless mercy of the Supreme Lord. So here Prabhupada says should be fully utilized. So it's a challenge. How many of you can fully utilize your life of Krishna consciousness? How many of people are doing it right now? It's very less, because everyone has their own obligation. But at least, Prabhupada has created this society where it doesn't matter whether you are brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, you all can come, and you can some way or the other render some kind of service for the pleasure of the lordships, and slowly one can become Krishna conscious. Many subjects have been discussed in this chapter. The man in distress. Now, who all come to the God? Who all comes to Krishna consciousness? Right? The man in distress. Someone who is in distress, maybe the students, or maybe a businessman, or maybe a salaried person. So many, any kind of person who is in distress. At distress, there are so many kinds of distress are there. So the man in distress. Then the second one is the inquisitive man, the man who wants to know what is his purpose of his life, why he has taken birth. He has not taken birth just to eat, sleep, mate and defend, because even the animals are doing that, right? For a dog, for an example, doesn't have to really work. The dog gets his share of meal every day from, maybe not from us, maybe from so many people around the world. It gets his part of the meal. It can sleep and it can mate and it can defend. So the dog can also do. So what is the purpose? The inquisitive man thinks about what is the purpose of the life, why I have come here, what is my goal. The man in want of material necessities, someone who has got a lot of material wants, that's also okay. Like someone may worship Lord Shiva to get a better husband, or maybe Lord Ganesh, or whatnot. Even one can come to Lord Krishna. It says that someone who is coming to Krishna even to fulfill the material desire is still better than someone who is not coming to Krishna. So he is also better. Knowledge of Brahman, who wants to have knowledge. What is this Brahma Jignasa? I told you. Knowledge of Brahman. Knowledge of Paramatma. What is Atma and what is Paramatma? Someone wants to know who is Paramatma. And he might have read or heard that Krishna is there in each and every atom. He is there in each and every living entity. Doesn't matter whether it is animal, birds, beast, man, whatnot, male, female. Krishna is there as Paramatma in everyone's heart. Someone wants to know who is this Paramatma and what is Paramatma all about. Liberation from birth, death and disease. Someone wants to get liberation from this and worship of the Supreme Lord. But topmost is someone who comes to Krishna just to render service. Who knows that beyond Krishna I don't have any friend. Krishna is my ultimate friend. Other friends are all fallible because it's birth, death and old age, disease. Today I have a friend, he may die, then my friend is gone. But who is the best friend? Is Krishna, because Krishna is eternal. We are not eternal, but Krishna is eternal, so we can have friendship with Krishna. However, he who is actually elevated in Krishna consciousness does not care for different processes. So what mean by different processes? There may be different processes one may have to follow, like Vaidhi Bhakti, or there are so many things. When you do sadhana bhakti, there are different processes. A, B, C, D. You cannot just directly jump. As Prabhupada, like Srimad Bhagavatam, it's always better to read Srimad Bhagavatam canto by canto, not jump to the 10th canto, because someone may be just interested to know about Radha and Krishna and their pastime, but that is not right. Gradually, you read canto after canto, and then you go to the 10th canto. Then you may have, by that time, you may have some faith, you may have some sukruti, you may have done anartha nivritti, and slowly you can understand what is the 10th canto. Maybe not fully, but at least now somewhat to some percentage you are a devotee to understand the 10th canto. In such a situation, it takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is convinced that by doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. This is very, very important. What does Prabhupada says here? He is convinced that by his doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. So someone who is very educated, someone who is materially very opulent, very educated, has very good family, good parentage, so many good things are there. But if there is no Krishna consciousness, everything is gone, is lost. There is no point. As soon as he dies, he has to leave back everything here, and then he has to start his life back from zero. Right? Now, when someone has all these things with him, plus he has Krishna consciousness, just think about such kind of person. When this person leaves this body, so now he has to start from where he has left. So if he has done 60% of his Krishna consciousness in this life, he has to start from 61. He doesn't have to start right from 1 again. He doesn't have to go back to kindergarten and start learning ABCD. I'm just telling from the spiritual angle, he has already those credits with him. So what happens to such kind of devotee? He may take birth in a very good aristocratic family, or a very high parentage, or a Brahmana's family, or a very elevated Vaishnava family, where everything is already available. So sometimes you may see some small kid or some child, he develops Krishna consciousness very fast. And we may be very surprised, why is that? It's because of his past sukruti. He might have done so much of tapasya or so much of bhakti in his past life, but he has just come to finish his unfinished job. He may just start from maybe 91%. We never know, because he already has done all those things, all these different processes and this and that. He has already followed in all this in his previous lives. Okay, but when we do bhakti, it's we cannot just jump from one branch to another. We have to follow all the rules and regulations, all the regulatory principles which are laid down, and then slowly we can elevate ourselves from one stage to another stage. So what happens? This determined faith is called dhrita vrata. What is dhrita vrata means? Pakka. That whatever may happen, I may not leave Krishna consciousness. Whatever may happen. In Vrindavan, it's very, very difficult. Now in Vrindavan, you see so many sampradayas are coming up. Someone says that only Radha is to be worshipped, Krishna is not required. Or someone will just chant Radhe Radhe. So Prabhupada has never recommended that. So Prabhupada, always when someone says Radhe Radhe, what is Prabhupada used to say? Hare Krishna. He never used to say Radhe Radhe. But now you see, it has become a fad, It's even ISKCON devotees have started this fad of saying Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe is okay, but our mantra is Hare Krishna. We always say Hare Krishna. When we meet in the morning, we say Hare Krishna. We don't say Radhe Radhe. Hare Krishna, because Prabhupada has laid some rules, regulations, some principles. Okay, because it's not easy to understand Radharani. We can understand Radharani only via Krishna, and to understand Krishna, one has to know Radharani. What is Radharani's servitor mood towards Krishna? So this is very, very important. For this, we need to have firm determination, firm faith. And the determination is very, very important. Dhrita vrata. And it is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. And Prabhupada says that is not the last stage, that is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. So, are we really doing Bhakti now? Or are we trying to do Bhakti? We are all practitioners. We are not still 100% devotee. At least to myself, I cannot say that I am still a devotee. I am trying to become a devotee. I am at the practicing stage. I am just on the nets. I am not playing the final match. I am just on the nets. I am practicing it. Okay, so, and it is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga or transcendental loving service. That is the verdict of all the scriptures. So all the scriptures says that is the verdict. That is the final. What is the final? Transcendental loving service. Right? And this is Kripa of Madhavendra Puri. Right? So, in some sampradayas you may see people just doing Vaidhi Bhakti. They may say, oh, only this is a process we keep following. But that element of love or bhav is not there. There is no reciprocation. It's more some people just go to the temple because they want to go, because they say, oh, my parents told me to go, I'll just go before the exam or after the exam, whatever it is, But there is no exchange of love. So Prabhupada says, until unless that, the transcendental loving service, that service is not there. See, you may do everything, but Prabhupada also introduced something called as a service. He said that whether it's a neophyte devotee or an advanced devotee, some kind of service one has to perform in the spiritual journey. One has to perform that. It's compulsory. That is the verdict of all the scriptures. This 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is the substance of that conviction. So Prabhupada says, what is that conviction? What is the end? This 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is the substance of that conviction. One has to have that conviction. One has to have that conviction that I want to go back to Godhead. It can be reverse process. You can sit and say, I want to go back to Godhead. Now, if you want to go back to Godhead, you'll have to start the reverse process. You'll have to decide, if I want to go back to Godhead, what are the different steps I need to follow, right from morning till evening? That may be, hearing, chanting, remembering. So there are so many different processes, and one has to, over a period of time, follow this process, get matured in this process, and one has to have conviction that this process will work, and this process works. Anyone has any doubt that this process doesn't work? This process works. It may take some time, but this process works. Anyway, in the material world, there is nothing, right? Even if you try to enjoy to your max, you cannot enjoy, because senses are unlimited. We still want to enjoy, but how far we can keep enjoying this material world? It's not possible. So one has to have that conviction that I have to render some service, and my service, whatever service has been given to me, if I can do that service with full conviction, with full faith, and in the mood, if I can do that service, that will really help me. that will help me. That will help me to take. It will actually help us to elevate our consciousness, and one fine day we'll go back to Godhead. So I stop here. Anyone has any comments, suggestions, questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes,
In the
Prabhu.
translation, those in full consciousness of me who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of material manifestation of the demigods, and all methods of sacrifice can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So actually what he is coming to say in the nutshell.
See, those in full consciousness of me who know me, Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation, that this material energy is also Krishna's energy. Krishna has created this energy, right? And then there is this material manifestation, one is the Supreme Abode. So this material manifestation, material nature is, he is the one who has created this material nature. And he is the governing principle. He is the one who is governing this material. His material nature is not working on its own. There is someone who is working, but Krishna is actually not working. Krishna just has to think the material nature is created, and based on his order, the whole material nature is working. Of course, it has been delegated to the demigods, and demigods work on his behalf. But ultimately, the governing principle, Krishna is the one who is controlling this material manifestation. And he is the one who is actually the one of the demigods. In the sense, he is the one who has created all these demigods. So it has come from Krishna. So when Arjuna saw the Virat Roop in the Mahabharata during the battle, he saw different demigods, and he was surprised, And Krishna says, all these demigods are part and parcel of me. So even if you worship or if you go and pray to any of the demigods, until and unless those are not sanctioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead's will, it is not going to happen. So one may directly go and approach the demigod, or one may go and approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's like watering the root. So either you water the root. So once you water the root, the water is going. You don't have to go and water the twigs, the leaves, the branches. You just water the root, and the whole tree or the whole plant gets nourishment. Similarly, our body, as soon as you put the food in the stomach, the whole body gets nourished. So that's what it's mentioned here. The material manifestation of the demigods and all the methods of sacrifice, even all the sacrifice, whatever sacrifice you do, whatever yajna do, who is the yajnapati? Is Vishnu or Krishna. So if there is no yajnapati, or Krishna is not the ultimate, all the sacrifice doesn't go to him, that yajna is incomplete. When we talk about yajna, it's only Vishnu or Krishna, no one else. It can be Narayan, Vishnu, Narsinga, whatever, ultimately different forms of Lord Krishna. And can understand and know me, the personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So, yeah.
At least at the time of death, I have to understood what.
No, he's saying here, and know me, the Supreme Personality, even at the time of death. So, see, even at the time of death, if you have good fortune, and somehow you can still remember Krishna at the time of death, like Ajamil's story is there, right? Ajamil was a devotee. He did so many wrong things, but ultimately at the time of death, when Yamadutas had come to take him away, then he started chanting, or started remembering, or started calling out his son's name. His son's name was Narayan, right? So one may question, he has done so many wrong things, so much sins in his life, but at the end of his life, he was just calling his son Narayan, but he called Narayan with full conviction and with full love. But that is for everyone it is not possible at the time of death to remember Narayan. So here it says, even at the time of death means, yes, of course, at the time of death, if you can remember Krishna, then you'll go back to Krishna. But for a devotee, even if he tries to, even if for somehow he cannot remember Krishna, Krishna will give him the remembrance. Krishna will give him the remembrance. Or the devotees are so merciful, devotees are merciful, they'll come, they'll chant, they'll do kirtan, or so many things they will do. And the thing is, that will help us to remember Krishna at the time of death. And your consciousness, And throughout your life, if you have been a devotee, then Krishna will automatically give you remembrance. Plus, at the time of death, there are devotees who will help you to remember Krishna. And then what happens to such person? He go back. He go back means, he is back to Krishna's service, somewhere, or maybe he go to Vaikuntha, he will do some service there. But he will go to a higher planet. He will go to Vishnu. Like so many things are there. Like in the spiritual kingdom also, it's not only Golaka Vrindavan. There is Ayodhya. There is Dwarka. There are so many services available there. So somewhere he will go there. But that's what has been mentioned here. At the time of that, one can remember Krishna and go back to Godhead.
The word using last Prabhupada translate even means. Until death, I am not understand Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is all the governing principle of material manifestation. Krishna. These are all. Until death, I don't understand. At least at the time of death,
yes.
I understood. That's the meaning.
Yes. Even at the time of yes. To some extent, yes. So even if you have not practiced, but at the time of death, you can remember Krishna. That will help you. But it's a big question mark that whether one will be able to remember Krishna. That's what the challenge is, One may say that, I will only remember Krishna at the time of death, but is it possible? So here it is clearly mentioned, those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So even at the time of death, one can know all those things, He is the one who is the full governing principle of this material nature, who is the one who has created all these demigods. So even one can know him at the time of death, he will get some benefit. But there's a question mark, it's a question mark. What we practice, if we don't practice, it's not going to happen. It's not that easy.
Prabhu, please help me understand that the remembrance, forgetfulness and knowledge is given by Krishna. So, is it that all these people given who are Krishna is according to the karma we do, or exactly how the remembrance, forgetfulness, knowledge Krishna provides? Is it a desire or the karmic reactions? How do you know it?
Mainly, it's kind of karmic reaction. So what do we say? Every action has equal and opposite reaction. But Krishna gives remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. Forgetfulness also is very important, right? Because if something happens in our family, someone near and dear one passed away. So if Krishna doesn't give forgetfulness, our life will be hell. So Krishna also gives forgetfulness. Krishna also gives remembrance. Most of the remembrance, we don't know from where this remembrance coming. People say there is a mind and from mind, but who is giving that remembrance? It's Krishna. So forgetfulness, knowledge also comes. Sometimes the most knowledgeable person at the time, specific time, he cannot remember certain things. Oh, you may say, such a scholar, but you might have seen that, because sometimes that knowledge or forgetfulness also is coming from Krishna. Sometimes all of a sudden you may have so much knowledge. You may see different categories of people in this world. Someone is so much knowledge he has. From where is that knowledge coming? It's coming from Krishna, right? So Krishna says that he is the one who gives knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance. So mainly you can say it's yes, in the past dates. But it also depends upon how can I say? It also is like your level of, especially in a Krishna conscious person, it's your percentage of surrender. That will also help. But mainly, for practitioners, it is like it's mainly the reactions, the past dates. Anything else?
Desire, there will be desire like our desire also maybe, like if you want to do a lot of bhakti, desire is there, maybe Krishna provides.
Yeah, so if you have sincere desire, then Krishna will also help. Let's say my desire is to become first class devotee and I am putting all the required efforts. So Krishna also sees your conviction, what efforts you are putting, and then Krishna will also help. So if he's saying, you're regularly coming for all the programs and with conviction, it's just not, it's always good even to just come for morning program, even if you don't have any faith, because slowly the faith will be developed. And it all depends upon the kind of reciprocation you have, and Krishna accordingly awards them.
Prabhu, the last paragraph, 4th line, he is convinced that by his doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. Right? Last paragraph, fourth line from the last. Before Bhakti Yoga, he is convinced that by his doing so. How to understand this?
He simply directly is an active and actually it takes okay. So now what is his objective? So that is what is important. One has to define the objective. So suppose if your objective is you want to understand or you want to be a very good devotee of Krishna, that is your objective, right? Say for example, right? So here it's in such a situation he takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is convinced that by doing so, what is he convinced by? By doing so what? By hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is hearing and he is glorifying. Who is glorifying? He is glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How? In pure devotional service. So he is convinced that by doing so, by doing that process or by following that activities or following that activities or doing that activities, all his objectives will be fulfilled. Now what is important is what is objective. If your objective is I want to become a rich man, it's not going to work here. Your objective is I want to understand Krishna more, I want to know Krishna more, then this objective Krishna will help. How that will help? By glorifying, by hearing the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. So that element, pure devotional service, is very important. Devotional service, that service word is very important. You have to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different 9 processes are there, but very, very important is in pure devotional service. You do that service but with devotion. Not just because I want to do it, but with pure devotion. And then Krishna, that's where the knowledge and remembrance come. The knowledge you have, now Krishna will give you remembrance. And then what will happen? All his objectives will be fulfilled. Now objective, you have to define your objective. So if your objective is defined, Krishna will provide all the means and ways for doing that. Thank you. Okay. Srila Prabhupada.